But let me show you this. Somebody asked him, how come you never went back to playing? It's a great question because this guy definitely had some juice left in the tank and everybody's wanting to know why he gave it up just like that.
In motion, Kerryon will keep it. Then a jump pass in zone, they crack more!
Not too long ago, Auburn had an absolute workhorse of a running back. This man was a beast. He dang near quite literally put the Auburn football team on his back. Maybe you think that's an objective opinion. Okay, that's fine. Well, let me provide you with the cold hard facts.
Left, Johnson wide open. Bye-bye! At the 50, at the 40, 35 ahead, 10, 5, dives for the pie.
Against the number one team in the nation, the Georgia Bulldogs, one of Auburn's biggest rivals, he had 233 rushing and receiving yards combined.
Kerryon Johnson goes to the field. He is shoved out of bounds.
Not too shabby if I gotta say so myself. In the year of 2017, he was named the SEC Offensive Player of the Year. He was what everybody was looking for in your new modern era type of running back. He wasn't just a great runner of the football. He was an overall athlete. He could do a little bit of everything. For that reason alone, after having that tremendous season in 2017, he decided to enter the NFL draft early. It turned out to be a great decision because he got selected in the second round. Unfortunately, once he got to the league, things took a turn for the worse. There's many questions people have been asking about this guy even till this day. But however, it all circles back to the one. And I mean the one big question we're going to try to get to the bottom of in today's video. What really happened to Kerryon Johnson? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hope all of you having a great day. If not, hope this video can make it a little bit better. The college football season is right around the corner, which means we don't have too many more documentaries we're going to be doing on the channel. Therefore, if you have any suggestions, recommendations, feel free to leave a comment down below, and who knows, we might make that video. I hope each and every single one of you are as excited to get into this video as I am. Strap in, buckle up, get you a snack, get you a popcorn, get your favorite meal you like to eat when you watch a video, because trust me, I do the same thing. But alright, man, blah, 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 shut the crap up, now enough for that dough. Let's get into it. Mr. Kerryon Johnson, much like myself, grew up in northern Alabama, shout to the 256, where he attended Madison Academy. For Madison Academy, he was a stud. He was extremely close to being a 5-star recruit. He was a few spots away. However, he didn't get that 5th star. He remained as a 4-star with an overall scout grade of 97. 97 might be the highest grade I've ever seen for a 4-star, come to think about it. He was also ranked as the 46th overall best player in the nation. He was one of the top players in the state of Alabama, and he was being recruited hard by both Bama and Auburn. But ultimately, Auburn edged out Alabama, and Kerryon Johnson signed with the Tigers. When he got to campus in 2015 as a true freshman, he played a little bit. It wasn't anything too crazy, but he saw some action. He had 52 carries for 208 yards with 3 touchdowns. It wasn't up until his sophomore year in 2016 when he would really get going. How about this for starters? In the season opener against number 2 ranked Clemson, Auburn did lose 19-13, but Kerryon Johnson was the leading rusher with 23 carries for 94 yards and 1 touchdown. Not bad against the top team, not bad at all. Auburn would go on to have a decent year. They finished 8-5, dropping the last 2 to Alabama and Oklahoma. For most of that entire season, I gotta give you some context, Johnson did split reps with the other running back that goes by the name of Petway. In that 2016 season, he had 182 carries for right at 900 yards, we'll round up, averaging 5 yards a pop with 11 touchdowns. I think we can all agree, those are solid numbers for a sophomore in the SEC. Heading into 2017, this is when Johnson made it evidently clear this is his ball team. He had 8 games that year with over 100 rushing yards, but most notably against Ole Miss, he had 204 yards. Auburn won this game 44-23. Kerryon Johnson, 28 carries, 204, averaging 7 yards a pop with 3 touchdowns. Sheesh, man, that is a heck of a performance. If that wasn't enough for you, in the next week, he followed up with a $156 against LSU. A couple weeks after that, he had 145 yards against Texas A&M and 167 rushing yards against number 1 ranked Georgia. This is also the same game in which he had 66 receiving yards, totaling 233 total. He would follow that up with 137 against Louisiana Monroe. They would then play another number 1 ranked team in the nation, not Georgia this time, but Alabama, and they'd come out on top, beating Jalen Hurts in Alabama 26-14, in which Kerryon Johnson had a $104. However, I will give Alabama's defense some credit because that $104 is not as impressive as it might sound because it took them 30 carries. 30 carries to get 100 yards, not exactly great. But here's what was great. Kerryon Johnson was so stellar that season, He won SEC Offensive Player of the Year. Things were going great for him. Although it was only his third year at Auburn, he decided to forego his final year eligibility and declare for the 2018 NFL Draft. This didn't shock too many people, and honestly, I think it was a really smart decision because he wasn't going to improve his draft stock too much after that great year. We're also going to talk about this later on, a little foreshadowing. Auburn was literally using him like a workhorse. Another year of having close to 300 carries was not going to be good on the body. So yeah, definitely a smart move to go to the NFL early, at least if you're asking me. Also too, like we talked about it a little bit earlier, he was the ideal new modern era type of running back. He was an outstanding prospect, and for that reason alone, that is why he was selected in the second round with the 43rd overall pick by the Detroit Lions. The good news is, he got selected early in the second round, which meant he was going to get paid. The bad news is, he got selected by the Detroit Lions. If you know, you know. That's all I'm going to say, and Kerryon Johnson, he talks about that in just a second. Kerryon Johnson's problems with the Lions started early on. And when I say problems, there were two main ones. Him and the head coach, they weren't on the same terms, and I guess you could really chalk that up to the entire coaching staff. And number two, injuries. As we all know, there's two ways to have your career derailed quickly. Number one, injuries, duh, obviously. And number two, going to a bad franchise. There's nothing worse as an athlete at any level, not just in the NFL. It could be in middle school, high school, college. Playing for a team in which you don't fit with or fit in. That's a terrible way of saying it. Here's what I'm trying to say, is you got to be on the same terms. They weren't agreeing on things. We'll get to that in just a second. In his first year in 2018, it was all right. I mean, things were looking up for him. He appeared in 10 games in which he had 641 rushing yards with 3 touchdowns. Not bad. He would suffer a minor injury that year, but he would bounce back in 2019. Started 7 out of 8 games, had 113 carries for 403 yards with 3 touchdowns. Obviously, don't gotta be a rocket scientist to figure out, not the greatest numbers you're gonna see. He's averaging right at 4 yards per carry. It's actually a little less, but we'll give him the benefit of the doubt and say 4. Whereas the previous year, as you can see, he only had 5 more carries, but he had close to 250 more yards. The production went down a little bit, and also in his second year, he suffered another injury and he missed some more time. He was placed on injury reserve that year because of a knee surgery, and it wasn't supposed to be anything major, but anytime you have surgery, it's going to take a while to bounce back. Fast forward time into 2020, didn't really play at all, had 180 rushing yards, and eventually the Detroit Lions, they waived him. I remember seeing that a couple years ago, and I was like, well, dang. You gave up on him that quick? Trust me, I get it. It's a business, but it's a little bit different when you have skin in the game, and here's what I'm talking about. When you get a guy off the waivers or you trade for a guy and you give him a year or two and it doesn't work out, that's a little bit different. But when you draft a guy, that is a guy you've already invested in. And for them to give up on him that easily and quickly, I get it. He's banged up a little bit, but come on, man. You gotta give him some more time, at least in my humble opinion. With that being said, I will play some devil's advocate, look at it from both sides. The Detroit Lions felt like he was damaged goods. Running backs are the most expendable position in the NFL. They're a dime a dozen. Let's not act brand new around here. They get treated poorly. Do I agree with it? No, but it is what it is. Can't do much about it. In May of 2021, Kerryon Johnson was claimed off of waivers by the Philadelphia Eagles. However, things were not going so well for him there. He got waived in August before the season even started. Shortly after he got waived in September of 2021, this is when the 49ers picked him up. Nothing came out of that because roughly a month later, he got waived by them. The Eagles then decided to give him another shot because they were having some lack of depth issues at the running back position, so they signed him in late December. Weirdly enough, right after they signed him in January, it was actually January 10th of 2022, so about, what is that, like 2 weeks later, they released him. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that was it for his professional football career. Unlike many others, he didn't go to the AFL, the Arena Football League, the CFL, Canadian League, all these other leagues we talk about. He didn't do any of that. Instead, he decided to get into coaching. Fast forward time a little bit to June of 2023, he was hired as the Director of Player Development at North Alabama, aka UNA, so he returned back home to the 256. As to where it stands today, as when I'm currently speaking, he is still with them. But let me show you this. Somebody asked him, how come you never went back to playing? It's a great question because this guy definitely had some juice left in the tank and everybody's wanting to know why he gave it up just like that. Kerryon Johnson decided to quote tweet it and state, because playing for a military general left me down 2 knees and a neck. Woo! Man, oh man, what about that? If you don't know what or who he's referring to, he's talking about Matt Patricia. Just assuming, don't know for a fact, but going off of what Johnson said, I think I'm close to being right on this. Matt Patricia was probably pushing him to come back earlier than he should have. Unfortunate, but what are you going to do about it? It happened. It is what it is. At least Kerryon Johnson has a great head on his shoulders, and I think he's going to be A-okay in this life. Also, too, got those in here. One thing I love about his story is you've probably picked up on this and noticed. No drama and no problems off the field, just strictly football. To all my other athletes out in here, please take notes. Be like Kerryon Johnson. I shouldn't have to sit up here and applaud Kerryon Johnson for staying out of trouble, but it seems like we make so many videos of guys getting in trouble, I need to. So to Kerryon, if you're seeing this, much respect to you for just doing what you're supposed to do as an athlete. Now, with that being said, let's answer one of the questions we sometimes ask at the end of these videos. Why didn't things work out for Kerryon Johnson? We kind of answered it in the video, but I'm asking you guys too. What do you think was the biggest detriment to his downfall? You could blame the coaching staff, but for me, if I had to point to one thing, I'm pointing towards the injuries. He couldn't stay healthy. It's as simple as that for me. To Kerryon Johnson, if you're somehow, someway seeing this video, my brother, wishing you the best of luck and hope you continue to see a lot of success in not only your career, but life moving forward. I'm curious. Let me know your thoughts down below. But